G'day trendsetters, I'm John with Gravel Cyclist and I'm coming to you today with a review of the Obed GVR, a very performance-oriented bicycle from the same folks who bring you brands such as Quintana Roo and Lightspeed, American Bicycle Group, out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Now, if you're a regular to the Gravel Cyclist YouTube channel or gravelcyclist.com website, you'll undoubtedly have seen my delivery experience and features video of this bike already. And when I say delivery experience, I'm referring to Kitsuma. I took collection of this bike direct to my front door without any messy packaging, thanks to the folks from Kitsuma. That was a really nice experience and something you should consider, especially if you want to receive a bike that's ready to ride. All you have to do is slap on pedals and adjust your position without any packaging to worry about. Chapeau. Now, if it's not obvious from taking a gander at this bike, this Obed GVR has an emphasis on high performance, low weight, aerodynamics, yes, even on a gravel bike, and some stiffness in the frame for optimal speed and more. Hello. Obviously, some of those characteristics are going to negate this bike for some riders, but some people are going to love what this bike has to offer. So let's crack on with the review. A little background about Obed. They are a consumer direct brand, but unlike those brands that offer the same boring bike that everyone else is riding, you can spec this bike out, well, to your heart's content, just about. In fact, look at this paint job. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? I spec'd this paint job and it only took about 4 weeks from me ordering this bike to taking delivery. So a really nice turnaround time, assuming availability of parts and so on. The paint jobs are handled in-house in Chattanooga at Obed's facility. There are several group set options available for this bike, and unlike some other consumer direct brands where they give you no choices with sizing the bike for your riding preferences, you can specify stem length, handlebar width, and crank length. So those are nice features. For something different, I specified the Obed GVR with Campagnolo e-car, and guaranteed some people are going to squawk that I mispronounced Campagnolo. Tough. That's how I pronounce it. Moving on. The e-car group set is my favorite one-by-specific group set. It is 13 cogs. Different ratios are available. On this particular bike, I've got a 10-44 cassette and a 40-tooth chainring, although I must give big thanks to my friends at Campagnolo USA because they sent me a 38-tooth chainring to play with as well. Thank you very much. If you would like to see a detailed, no bullshit review of this group set, be sure to check it out, linked in the description below. There are plenty of other options for the Campy e-car build, including the wheel set. I opted for the top tier Spinergy GXX offering. Now those are not fitted to the bike right now, rather I've got a pair of Campagnolo Levante wheels. I'm reviewing those long term, but the GXXs are here. Hang on a second. There you go. Spinergy GXX wheels shod with the widest tire offering available on this bike. Panaracer Gravel King SK in 700C by 43mm. Love these bloody tires and brown sidewall. Some further options include mounts. Now I opted for the optional top tube mount. I love that position on a bike. You can chuck on a storage bag of some kind and throw food, camera batteries, handkerchiefs, whatever you're into. There's also some additional mounts such as fenders and so on. Check those out on the obedbikes.com website. Now, in terms of the standard mounts like you would expect, you get the traditional 2 mounting points for bottle cages, one on the down tube, one on the seat tube, and nowadays, being 2022, you get the third bottle cage mount beneath the down tube, what I like to call the cow catcher position. But I digress. Yeah. Obed have also been really wise with the bottom bracket choice. They went with T47. You have to love that because I know a ton of people totally despise press fit bottom brackets of any kind. Is this pathetic or what? How am I supposed to work in this video while you're bloody laying there wanting your belly rubbed? Regarding sizing, this is a size medium with a 544mm top tube and a 146mm head tube. You can check out all of the geometry details over at obedbikes.com, but I'll be completely upfront with you. I had a difficult time getting myself sized to this bike. I almost felt that I was between sizes, and it took several rides before I felt sort of comfortable, but I really never ended up being 100% dialed on this bike. Now I'll cover more of that experience and so on when I get into the meat of the review, so to speak. Now, one thing to remember, bike fit is very personal, so what works for me may not work for you. Stating the obvious, the Obed GVR is a very clean looking bike. There's no cables hanging anywhere barring the rear derailleur cable exiting at its traditional point. Now, all of this is possible courtesy of the FSA ACR system. In fact, the cockpit is all by FSA, 4-speed ahead. The ACR system routes everything inside the handlebars, so FSA handlebars. The cabling runs inside through the stem, then down the steerer tube, exits above the crown inside the steerer tube, down the frame to reach the respective rear derailleur and rear brake. And in terms of the front brake, inside the fork on the left side and exits just above the flat mounted caliper. So it's really nicely done, but stating the obvious again, it's a complete nightmare to build if you're a mechanic. I don't think every mechanic appreciates these sorts of builds. But one thing I must mention, a huge thank you to the crew who built this bike at Obed Bikes, because it was dialed in and ready to go upon receipt. I didn't have to do anything. It was ready to ride, spot on shifting and braking. Now, with all that out of the way, what's interesting about this bike is you can spec it out complete with some decent wheels and Campagnolo e-car with the carbon frame and fork, obviously, the GVR, for under $5,000. Now that's $5,000 US. It's still a lot of money, but when you see some of the crazy prices of bikes these days, it's actually a pretty good deal considering the part spec. Now, speaking of specs, I think I've covered just about everything. Now it's time to talk about how the Obed GVR rides. With an emphasis on speed, performance and stiffness, the GVR's frame was exactly that. Stiff where it mattered, but not to the point where every small bump or pothole made for a bone-jarring ride. With the Panaracer Gravel King SK tyre in 700C by 43mm, you definitely garner a measure of comfort at the right tyre pressure, but narrower casing tyres at higher pressures may result in a rough ride, which isn't helped by the rather odd choice of an oversized seat post. You must pay attention to tyre pressure on the GVR, but thankfully there is the choice of an EE Silk seat post at the time of order. The GVR isn't the lightest bike on the market, tipping the scales at close to 20 pounds. The GVR is a winner for those who ride the pavement and prefer riding the same bike for crossing over to dirt and gravel. If you can make the bike's geometry and relatively tall front end work for you, the GVR could be a good fit for the cyclist desiring just one bike. Much as I tried, I felt very out of sorts riding the GVR. The tall head tube was exaggerated by the integrated FSA ACR front end, which to my knowledge leaves almost no room for adjustment once you've run all of those internal cables and so on. The integrated stem and spacer beneath put me way over an inch higher than my usual handlebar height, which made the bike feel ungainly to me. In fact, several close friends who ride with me regularly noted I looked out of place riding the GVR. The additional inflexibility of the front end parlayed into trying to travel with the bike. Because the FSA handlebars are flared, they would not fit into my Vogue Road Bike Bag Pro case, and due to everything being internalized, I couldn't remove them to twist sideways parallel to the fork inside the case. In other words, this is why some integrated setups are a bad idea, especially if your setup is not dialed. I believe Obed offers a regular externally cabled handlebar setup, but they really need to bring more attention to that configuration. These quibbles about the GVR relate to my fit, which may be perfect for you, honing the point that bike fit is very personal. If you like riding 1x, the choice of Campagnolo e-car 1x13 is among the best, which performed flawlessly on the GVR. The bike was also fitted with Spinergy's top-tier GXX wheelset, which are pleasant riding, but hamper this bike's performance at close to 1600 grams. Campagnolo's Levante wheels that I'm reviewing separately dropped some weight, and even this modest change had the GVR feeling more lively than with the GXX wheels. A wheel upgrade on this configuration is something I'd seriously consider. Climbing, descending, or just riding along, the GVR can change lines quickly but isn't overly twitchy. It corners well at fast and slow speeds and rewards the rider with predictable handling that won't get you into trouble. Thoughtful touches on the GVR include the protective tape treatment around the chainstay and chainring area, and all of those mounting options, which is nice to see aboard a more performance-oriented gravel bike. Overall, the Obed GVR is a fast, versatile and supposedly aerodynamic bike that you can customize the pants off. It is well priced considering comparable offerings on the market, but take time to scrutinize the bike's geometry and integrated front end. This bike may work for you or not. So there you have it, my review of the Obed GVR, a carbon fiber high performance oriented gravel bike for the gravelly roads less traveled. As always, thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the Gravel Cyclist YouTube channel for no bullshit gravel bike reviews such as this one, other product reviews, ride experience videos, this dog, and other madness, yes, as all of it is released to the channel. It's on the edge of nightfall here. I need to wind up this video. I'll see you in the next video.